Hello everybody, it is Tom and welcome to another video. Hello, we are finally back. Finally, after a very, very long unintentional hiatus, back to talking about what we're all here for, or what many of us are here for, Heartstopper. So today we're going to continue with Heartstopper Comics versus Show, where we look at the Heartstopper comics and we look at the Heartstopper show and we compare them. Last time we did episode 3, so today, naturally, we will do episode 4. I'm not sure if we'll do the whole thing. We might split it in half just because there's going to be a lot to it, so that is what we might do. But before we start, a few quick and pleasant announcements. So first of all, I'm very glad to share with you that the channel has hit 2,000 subscribers. Yay! So thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. I know that's still like not a huge number, but it is a huge number to me. So thank you, and I appreciate every single one of you for being here. You guys are awesome, amazing, and wonderful. Announcement number 2. You may know, this is not an announcement because I already announced it, but you guys may know that my queer YA book, The Boy Who Was Kissed, is going to be released in June, in Pride Month, on June 24th. Well, I just found out yesterday that Dreamers, which is my... There are some people down the hall who have been playing some kind of game all afternoon and just screaming and yelling and carrying on, and like, I can't yell at them because that's going to be my friends and I on Saturday, but they're very noisy. So yes, I just found out yesterday that Dreamers, which is my queer YA novel about a trans guy in high school, is going to be released by a different publisher on May 24th. So we're gonna have exactly a month between the two release dates, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so that is next month. That is like a month from now that you will be able to purchase and read Dreamers. And then a month after that, you will be able to purchase and read The Boy Who Was Kissed. So awesome. So the final book related news is that this is just my queer YA novel, but seriously, my queer YA novel, Remember Me, which is the one that I have nicknamed Gay Ghost Boys, which honestly, of the books that I've written, I would say that's the one that like I'm most pleased with and am most anxious for everyone to read. I would say Dreamers is a close second just because it draws from so much of my own experience, but in terms of like plot and characters and stuff like that, stop screaming! Remember Me is at the top. So yeah, that has been officially picked up for publication by Deep Hearts YA and is scheduled to be released next spring, probably. So we'll see when exactly it happens, but that is the tentative release date of next spring. So, hooray! My books, you can read them. Alright, so I have no other announcements, so let's get into this glorious thing we call Heartstopper. So as we said, the Royal Week, as I said, last time we did episode 3. And episode 3 was interesting because there was some overlap with the comics, but there was so much stuff that was only in the show. So with episode 4, we're getting back to a much closer parallel with the comics, where the majority of the scenes that are in episode 4 have direct parallels in the comics. So we're starting with 4, this is episode 97, part 4, I don't know, it's part or chapter 4, section 4, it's 414. Oh dear. This setup is, I'm not sure if the setup is going to work, but I'm doing a screen recording of my video with the comics just to make editing a little bit quicker and easier for me. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Okay, so we start off, much as we do in the show, with everyone heading to the bus, which will take them to Paris. So we have Mr. Ajayi and Mr. Farouk. Mr. Farouk exuding me in the morning vibes of just like, Barely awake, Mr. Ajayi, very, very perky. And so we have, oh my god. I'm really sleep deprived. And like, first I almost said Darla, then I almost said Daria. In fact, it is Darcy. So we have Tara and Darcy heading up to the bus. And Mr. Ajayi is saying, "Morning, girls, excited for Paris?" And Darcy says, "Yeah." And then we have Charlie saying goodbye to his parents, and Julio saying, "Message us, okay? And send us a postcard." And Charlie says, "Okay, okay." And Jane says, "Love you, baby." So a very nice, kind of warm farewell between them. And I think it's important to note that, like, in the comics, at this stage, there's no tension between Charlie and his parents, because we didn't have the plot of Charlie getting in trouble about his grades. We didn't have any of the Charlie being grounded. None of that happened. And his parents are totally, like, his parents reacted much more positively to the news that Charlie and Nick were together, and were much more supportive about it. So there's no tension between them. They're hugging, they're saying goodbye. It's great. So in the show, we don't see any of the parents. We just see the guys. No, we just see the teens, the students, the guys, not the guys. Okay, so we have Charlie heading off with his cute little suitcase and his nice little backpack while his parents look on, and there's Nick waving to him. So yay!
Hey. Hey.
Nick and Charlie board the bus.
Hello, you two.
And they say hi to Tao and not Isaac, because this is a comic. They say hi to Tao and Aled. And in the show, we just had the scene at the end of episode 3 where Charlie told Nick that they could just put the coming out plan on hold for a while, that Nick didn't have to even think about coming out. So because of that, Charlie in the show makes the suggestion that they not sit next to each other on the bus.
You're sure about keeping it low-key?
Yeah. Probably shouldn't sit next to each other on the coach.
Whereas in the comics, that has not happened. There's none of the tension surrounding Nick coming out. It's a much more like calm sort of situation. And so they sit next to each other with no problem. But we also have Nick turning around and seeing Harry coming up the aisle. And Harry spots him and looks away, looking angry.
So excited.
Looks like rain today. Daytime temperatures will hover around 61 degrees, with overnight lows around 44.
And Charlie says, "I didn't know Harry was coming on this trip." And Nick says, "Yeah, it'll be fine. He's been ignoring us since what happened at the cinema." So, of course, in the comics, we don't have the plot point of, why are they screaming so much? Like, it's been like 4 hours. I'm really glad you're having fun, but does everyone need to know it? Anyway, in the comics, we do not have the part where Harry and Tao fight. And in fact, we don't have the tension between Tao and Charlie. That happens later on in the comics. So, this is the first time that we have seen Harry since the movie theater. And as Nick says, Harry's been ignoring them since the cinema. So, okay, so Charlie says, Charlie looks pleased because in the comics world, Charlie is happy that Nick punched Harry. So, Charlie says, "Probably scared you're gonna punch him again." And Nick's like, "I don't normally punch people, you know." Charlie leans close to Nick and says, "I know. God, I wish I'd seen it, though." And Nick's like, "Charlie." Yeah, so very, very different from the way it is in the show. In the show, we have, of course, Charlie being quite upset about the fact that Nick is fighting, getting into fights because of him, as he says. So, of course, it's because of Harry and Harry's general douchebaggery. So then Mr. Ajayi says, "Okay, everyone, can I have some quiet so I can take the register?" And people continue to chatter.
Okay, everyone, can I have some quiet?
So Mr. Farouk yells, "Quiet!"
Quiet!
I like the fact that, like, Mr. Farouk's voice is very loud, but he's not necessarily yelling. He's just saying the word quiet at a high volume. Of course, we have silence after that, and Mr. Ajayi says, "Oh, okay, thank you, Mr. Farouk."
Thank you, Mr. Farouk.
Now, if you could answer when I call your name, please. So, Mr. Ajayi reading the roll. So, Elle is sitting with Sahar, and Tara and Darcy are sitting together. Tara is reading Radio Silence. Good choice. Very good book. Darcy asleep. So, in this version, of course, we also do not have the tension between Tao and Elle. Because what has just happened in the show is that Tao has admitted to Elle that he likes her and invited her on a date. They go on the date. It's very awkward, very weird. Tao is trying to be someone who is not himself, and Elle is more and more weirded out by the whole experience. Tao goes on a tirade insulting her favorite movie, and then freaks out about the fact that she invited her friends to the bonfire party, and it all implodes. So there's a lot of tension in the show. We have Nick and Charlie sitting separated from one another because Charlie is trying even harder to keep the fact that he and Nick are boyfriends a secret. And then we have Tao and Elle, lots of tension there because they both really like each other, but because of what happened between them on their date, they think that maybe they can't be in a relationship and maybe they can't even be friends. Then we also have Ben, who is now dating Imogen, so that's another bit of tension, where of course Nick wants Imogen to not be with Ben because he knows what a shithead Ben is. Ben is like staring longingly at Charlie. There's just a lot more tension. We also have the fact that Tara has blurted out that she loves Darcy, and Darcy has not said it back.
I guess I've just been worried about when I said you didn't say it back.
You mean about our prom outfits? Because you know, I still think we should be Princess Peach and Mario.
So I do think that the show does a really good job of inserting tension that's not over the top. Like a lot of teen shows, especially teen shows focused on romance, go really overboard with the drama. It's like it's lying and cheating and stealing and like unlikely coincidences. This is very believable drama and doesn't feel over the top, feels very natural for these characters. And of course makes a lot of sense for the TV show format. So I really like what they did with the show. And of course the comic is a lot more kind of slice of life. There are lower stakes, less tension, but still great. Okay, so we have Mr. Ajayi talking to a very tired Mr. Farouk. We have Mr. Farouk. I don't know how I added like an extra syllable in there. We're looking out. We're looking out the window, and then we have some questions for the teachers. We have Mr. Ajayi, how long until we're in France? Mr. Ajayi says, probably about 10 minutes now. And someone, we don't know who it is, but in the show, of course, it is Darcy, saying, Mr. Farouk, is this tunnel underwater? And Mr. Farouk says, yes. And the question is, so why can't I see any fish? Just a ... from Mr. Farouk.
Are we under the water?
Yeah.
Then why can't we see any fish?
I love that moment in the show. I love like Darcy's just innocent confusion and Mr. Farouk just being like, because Nick and Charlie have sat together, we get to see kind of, again, how much they're not really paying attention to how close they're being to each other. So in the show, I think they do a really good job of maintaining the caution and kind of fear and worry that Nick and Charlie have about Nick being outed. So they're not always careful about it, as evidenced by them getting caught kissing by Ms. Singh, but you always have that feeling of like worry. You can sense kind of the anxiousness between them in the way that they interact when they're in public. Whereas here, it is just so clear that they're just oblivious, like they don't care. They're just in their love world. And so we have like Nick asleep on Charlie's shoulder, Charlie with his head leaning on Nick's. They're sharing earbuds, and just anyone looking at them. Again, Nick has this impenetrable aura of heterosexuality around him. So I'm sure there are people on the bus who look back at this and go, just bros being bros, just dudes being bros and bros being dudes. But there are definitely people who are figuring things out about what's going on between them, and this is just further evidence of that. But Nick and Charlie don't care. They're not even thinking about it. Whereas in the show, they are so thinking about it that they're not even sitting together. So we have, they are entering Paris. They're entering Paris. Gay Paris, ha 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 ha. Or by Paris in Nick's case. And so we have Charlie saying, hey, wake up, we're here. Nick is awakened to the sights of Paris. So we have arrived at l'hôtel. We've arrived at the hotel. And so we have Mr. Farouk giving the keys, the room keys over to Tao and saying, Tao's room, you're in 414. I'll be in 403 if you need me, but hopefully you won't.
Mr. Farouk and I will be in room 203 if you need us.
But hopefully you won't.
And meanwhile, Mr. Ajayi is talking to, I think that's Darcy. And she says, Mr. Ajayi, where are you sleeping? And Mr. Ajayi says, I'll be sharing with Yusuf. Mr. Farouk. Yes, you will. So they head up to the 4th floor. They find their room. They find out that, it has double beds. 2 double beds, in fact. And Charlie says, oh, we have to share beds. And Nick says, yeah, ...
We have to share beds.
They look at each other and they blush. And Aled springs forward saying, well, I want the window bed. And Tao's like, well, I want the other bed then. I hate getting woken up by the sun.
Well, I'm having the window.
I want the other bed.
Hate being woken up by the sun.
So we have Aled on one bed, Tao on the other, and Nick and Charlie look at each other, not super pleased. And Charlie says, I guess I'll go with Tao and you go with Aled. And Nick says, yeah.
I guess I'll share with Tao and you can share with Isaac.
Yeah.
And Nick says, I'm just gonna pee. And off he goes. And so then we have Tao explaining to Charlie, patting him on the shoulder and saying, I thought sharing with Nick would make you feel awkward. Just standing next to girls I like makes me feel like I'm being electrocuted. And Charlie starts saying, well, actually, the thing about me and Nick is, but then, knock, knock, knock. And Tara says, Aled, is this your room? I still have your phone charger. And Aled's like, oh, just coming. And then Darcy and Tara burst in. So sadly, Charlie is not able to tell Tao. Because of course. So in the comics, as you may know, if you've been following along, or if you've read the comics, Tao still doesn't know that Nick and Charlie are a thing. And in fact, in Paris is when he finds out about it. So because of that, because Tao does not know, and this was something that we speculated about a lot when we were waiting for season 2, because with Tao finding out about Nick and Charlie in season 1, we were wondering what the driving tension of the Paris episodes would be. Because in the comics, the main tension is the fact that Tao is upset with Charlie about the fact that, or not even upset with Charlie, he's just sad and upset that he is the last one to find out that Nick and Charlie are together. And that gels pretty well with what happens in the show. I do think they made a good decision in the show to have that wrap up in season 1 and have Tao find out in season 1. But the only issue is that it made this part where Tao tries to explain his logic in essentially forcing Charlie to not sleep in the same bed as Nick. It makes that a little bit strange. Because here it makes perfect sense, because Tao does not know that Nick and Charlie are together. Tao still thinks that Charlie has an unrequited crush on Nick. And being a very good friend, thinks that if Charlie is forced to sleep in the same bed as the person he has an unrequited crush on, that's going to be really, really awkward and difficult for him. So Tao steps forward to save Charlie from that. He's thinking only of Charlie in that. Whereas in the show, Tao knows that Nick and Charlie are a couple, but he still, for some reason, thinks that, like, he makes the same excuse. The dialogue is almost exactly the same, except he says, standing next to Elle makes me feel like I'm being electrocuted.
I thought you'd find it awkward sharing with Nick. Just standing next to Elle makes me feel like I'm being electrocuted.
Because at this point in the show, we have confirmation that Tao does have feelings for Elle. So I don't think it works quite as well in the show, because the logic doesn't really add up. Because if you like someone and they don't like you back, yeah, it's torture, maybe, having to be physically close to them and know that nothing can come of it. But Nick and Charlie are together, and in the safety of their own room, of their own hotel room, they should be able to snuggle, especially since they're with Tao and Isaac, who both know about them. So I think it might have been a better choice to have Tao not want them to share a bed for different reasons. Like, for example, the fact that he doesn't want to be in the same room as them when they're making out with each other, which is totally fair. I think they could have made it a little more believable, Tao's reason for keeping them apart, because I've definitely seen people who watch the show who have not read the comics are really understandably confused by this scene and why they won't let Nick and Charlie share the same bed. I do think it was a good choice to have Nick and Charlie not share the same bed, because then we get that beautiful moment of them like holding hands across the way. Another thing they could have done is have someone who is not Isaac share the room with them for whatever reason, but I think it's good that they have Isaac sharing the room. So that might not have worked, but anyway. Okay, so we have Tara and Darcy coming in, talking about how their room is small, and in the show we definitely see that Tara and Darcy's room is very large. So then Tao is hiding behind Charlie, saying, "Is Elle out there? Tell me if Elle is out there." And Darcy just grabs him and is like, "Come see our room, it's massive." And Tao's like, "But is Elle in there?" And Darcy says, "She sure is," and off they go. It's also so funny, like, getting so used to the show, I kind of forget that Tao in the comics is really short. And like the way that he's able to just hide behind Charlie like that is really, really funny. So, okay, so then Charlie falls back on the bed. Nick comes out of the bathroom saying, "Oh, what did I miss?" And sits on the bed, and Charlie sits up and says, "I wanted to share with you."
I wanted to share a bed with you.
Same.
And Nick says, "Same, we'll get to do it one day." And then immediately he's like, I mean, not do it, share a bed, I mean.
I'm sure we'll get to do it one day. I didn't mean to do it. I was just talking about, sharing a bed, that's all.
And then he says, that came out all wrong.
That came out all wrong.
So in the comics, it's a bit more cartoony and a lot more like over the top of like, not do it, I meant share a bed. Whereas I think in the show, Kit plays it a little quieter and a little subtler because he's a subtle kind of performer. So I like both versions. But yeah, this joke is in both of them. And I think it's a good way to kind of slowly introduce the topic of them doing more than kissing, as they say later on, but also kind of foreshadowing the fact that neither of them are really ready to do that because they're not even ready to talk about it at this point. Okay, so then Charlie leans his head on Nick's shoulder and says, "I can't wait to do it with you one day." And Nick's like, "Yeah."
I can't wait.
And Charlie does not specify what he is talking about, and I think it's pretty clear. But he does say one day. He doesn't say now. He doesn't say tomorrow. He says one day. So they're not ready. Okay, so Charlie grabs the strings of Nick's hoodie and kisses him. And then the door opens to make way for Aled and Darcy. And of course, we have one of the best moments of Darcy saying, "Nick and Charlie, are you two coming or..." And Charlie looks so annoyed. Darcy, of course, says, "Oh, you're being gay. Good job, carry on."
Charlie! You two coming up? Oh, you're being gay. Good job. Carry on.
And Charlie says, "Will we ever get to kiss without someone walking in?" And Nick says, "We do kiss in risky places kind of a lot." Charlie says, "Maybe so."
Will we ever get to kiss without people walking in on us?
Well, at least I've not lost this challenge yet.
So we jump to what I assume is dinner time. And we have just the whole group heading in. We have, I hope this hotel has good food. Mr. Farouk is pizza French. I'm just going to assume that all the less than informed questions are coming from Darcy. That's just what I'm going to assume. Mr. Farouk's like, no. We have we're munching, we're talking. Tao looks annoyed and Nick notices that Charlie has not eaten anything and looks concerned. Whereas in the show, of course, the main reason why Charlie is not eating is because he's sitting next to Ben. And then we're back in the room, and we have Nick noticing that Aled is sleeping, and Charlie noticing that Tao is sleeping. and then both reaching out their hands to hold hands across the way, which I love this moment in the comics, and it did not disappoint in the show. One of the best things about this in the comics and in the show is that they fall asleep holding hands, but when they wake up, Nick is still reaching out and Charlie has curled into himself. Which I think really is a good metaphor for their personalities and the way that they approach relationships and just the world in general. Alright, and that is where my hard drive ran out of space for the second time today, and I had to go on an epic half-hour journey of trying to clear space, so I think we'll stop there for right now. I did order a portable hard drive, which should hopefully be here tomorrow, so at least I'll have a little bit more space when it comes to making videos, because they are very large files. So we'll stop there for now, and in the next installment, we will look at the second half of the episode and also the comics for this section. So, yes, so sorry for the abrupt end there, but the universe and my computer's hard drive are telling me it's time to stop. Also, it's almost bedtime and I should get ready for bed. So, as always, let me know your thoughts. What are your favorite moments from this part of the show and the comics? Do you have a preference regarding how these scenes play out in either one? Tell me everything, tell me anything. It's all good. All right, so thank you so much for liking and subscribing and commenting and being awesome. And a huge thanks to our patrons who are extremely and immensely fantastic and awesome and wonderful. And a special shout out to our Nick Nelson members, Kelly Walker, Paul Z, Kent Smither, Kim Engel, Lauren Javier, and Mark Walker. All right, well, have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whatever time of day it may happen to be, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.